Hi, this is an introduction to Careerpilot. For those of you who have used the site before, we're going to try and describe the new features that we've been working on and rolled out across the website. So we've been working hard over the summer on Careerpilot and made a few changes. So this video is to try and update you on those changes, and in particular to tell you about our new region and the changes to the site, including the new reporting zone, which we launched in September 2017. So for those of you who've used the site before, you'll know that it's a free website aimed for young people to choose their job sectors and qualifications at various stages in their school or college life. More and more people are using the site, and there are student surveys included on lots of pages, and the feedback that we're getting from school and college students is really positive. So the reason that Careerpilot is free is because we're funded by, it was 12 universities in the southwest, but now our region has increased to include more regions in the south and the east. So we're now supported by 20 universities and 6 NCOPs. So for those of you who are unsure of what the NCOPs are, these are projects that are government funded that are aiming to try and get more people to consider higher level qualifications. They're postcode based, and schools who contain students who live in certain postcodes have been informed that they are part of the NCOP project, and so if this applies to you, you will know that you belong to one of the NCOP projects. So as I said, we're now supported by 20 universities and 6 NCOPs, and our region covers more of the south of England. So Careerpilot has the Student Zone, which is where all the information for students is kept, and we make sure that we always check the information, make sure it's up to date and it's impartial. So new for this year, we've got the Reporting Zone, which I'll explain more about as we go through. The Advisor Zone is where you can find worksheets and resources and presentations to use with students and parents. And we've also got the Parent Zone, which is designed for parents to look for questions and answers about their particular student and what might be happening, what choices they might be having to make in the future. So the student area has two parts. As I said, we've freshened it up over the summer, and it has a similar feel, but the images have changed slightly. We also have the career tools, and within the career tools, students can choose various sections and complete various sections, and what they choose is saved, ready for a later date. And this is feeding into the reporting zone now, so teachers and advisors in schools and colleges are able to look at what students are choosing and use that to make informed decisions about what interventions they might make with particular students. For instance, if students have chosen a particular job sector within a year group, you might choose to get somebody in from that particular job sector, or if more and more students are looking at apprenticeships within your school, you might have somebody in to talk about apprenticeships. So the reporting zone is really designed to inform people who are working with young people and what they might do to help them in their career choices. So the highlights from the Careerpilot student zone are the job sectors. So the job sectors contain a wealth of information, about 22 different job sectors, and in each one there are lots and lots of information about different jobs. So we've increased these in number now to take account of the different areas that have recently joined us. We've got more providers now to cover the south of England. So these are schools, colleges, training providers, universities. So students can go on to find a provider and find quick links to those providers and the courses that they provide. The qualification planner is where students can look to see what pathway they might choose to take and covers vocational qualifications, apprenticeships, as well as more academic qualifications. Students can enter according to their age, so where the key option choice making ages are, students can go in at those various sections and find information that's relevant to them. And students can also go in at various levels with different information on the range of pathways, from finding a job to finding an apprenticeship to finishing off their qualifications, etc. So this is the Higher Education 18 section, and if we look on this section, you'll see that there's loads and loads of different information in there for those students. The decide which course to do is a really good one. That's where students are advised as to which websites they can use to decide a course to do at higher education. So websites such as Unistats and Which Uni, quite often students go onto those websites not knowing the sort of differences between those websites. And we have links to those websites and a little bit of information to help the student use those sites in deciding which course to do. We also have a link to Future Learn and in particular MOOCs, and we found that Year 12s and 13 students really are keen to take on these options of a free online course, and they're designed for students to get a feel for what higher education study might have, and they're free, they take a matter of weeks, and it looks good on their personal statements and CVs. So MOOCs are a really good thing to pinpoint signpost to your students. On lots of pages, there is the option to add to bookmarks. So this means that when a student comes to think about MOOCs again in the future, they don't have to think about where they found that information. It will be saved within their section, their career tools. The job sector looks a little bit like this. So again, it's had an overhaul in terms of what it looks like, but the information in there has been checked, and there's lots and lots of information on all the different jobs. A new feature of the job sectors is that students can also add these to their bookmarks, and they can also say whether they're really interested in that particular job sector or just exploring. Again, to give teachers and advisors the idea of what students are really interested within their schools or colleges. Within each job sector, we have links to the Careerometer, and this is a tool provided by the LMI which makes students be able to compare different careers in terms of their salaries and their working conditions and the qualifications that they need to get into those careers. Job profiles has been updated, lots and lots of jobs, and the information is taken from the National Career Service, which is a government-owned website with lots and lots of people making sure that data is accurate. So for instance, this person has chosen to look at accounting technician, and lots of information there to help the student think that this might be the career for them. So once the students completed their job sectors, this is what it looks like within their career tools. So you'll see that this person has looked at 4 different job sectors. They're really keen on construction, and the orange ones, they're just exploring at the moment. So for instance, this could change the next time they do it, but each time you can see that the person viewing this would have a lot of information about that student and what they're interested in. They're also looking at different jobs. So they've looked at border force officer and charity fundraiser. So again, more information for the person who's working with this student to see what they're interested in. And this is all within the job sectors part of career tools. So other things that feed into a student's career tools and therefore the reporting zone for the teacher or advisor is a find a provider section of Careerpilot and the qualifications section. The find a provider area again has been extended, and this is where students can look to see what college they might be interested in attending, school or university. And they click on a particular provider and it will be saved within their career tools. Qualifications section, again, students can go on to this qualifications planner and map out a route for their qualifications. So if they're doing a certain qualification, they can tick this, or if they're interested in doing a certain qualification in the future. So the career tools section, in order for this to work, students have to make sure they register when they first use it and sign in again on the next times that they use it. And it's really important that students get their postcode correct because of the NCOP work, and they also need to log into a certain school or college, just so that we can see them at the back end and make sure that they can be tracked. So the year group is important as well, and this will determine what the student can access in terms of the pre-16 skills map or the HE skills map, a tool that allows students to see the skills that they've got. And again, all of these things will populate the reporting zone. So the My Next Steps quiz is new for this year, and that's a quiz that will allow the students to think about some of the things that are perhaps stopping them from considering a higher level qualification, and again inform some of those one-to-one conversations that you might have. The HE skills map and pre-16 skills map will also inform the career tools and therefore the reporting zone. The next steps quiz looks like this. So again, there are a number of questions that might just prompt the student into thinking what might they do in the future, but what might be a barrier to them in the future. So this person's answered a number of questions, and again, it's saved within their career tools and it feeds into the reporting zone. The HE skills map has always been a feature of Careerpilot, but now we've developed the pre-16 skills map, so it's easier for the younger students to start their skills journey. So they can record the skills, their experiences, and think about when they are applying to university or an apprenticeship or a job in the future, what skills can they describe? And it's very simple. It's just a matter of the students answering a number of questions, and once they've answered the questions, there are a number of skills that are highlighted as a response. So this individual, for instance, has completed a work experience placement and has a part-time job, etc. And once they've ticked those boxes, you'll see that a number of different skills have come up. And again, these can be recorded and saved for a later date. As well as that, once they've recorded their skills, the HE skills map and pre-16 skills map will generate a grid called the skills bank in which they're listed sort of top down. So this individual has lots of examples of where they've had to use teamwork, but perhaps they need to gain some more examples of where they've used their leadership skills. They can also add their own examples if they feel that the quiz has not captured all of their examples, then they can add their own. So this person, for instance, has worked at Waitrose, and they get to self-select the skills that they think that example has allowed them, that example has allowed the skills to develop. So a new feature of the HE Skills Map and Pre-16 Skills Map as well is the fact that they can now link their skills to a certain course or job. So for instance, this person is interested in economics and they can find out the skills that would be useful for economics, tick those, and then look to see how they compare. Similarly, they can look on a particular job profile within job sectors and find out the skills that are needed for a particular job. And again, they can compare the skills that they've got within their skills bank and what they would be needed if they chose a certain job. So once students have finished the career tools, they are then able to download a report. So this is saved within their career tools, or they could save it onto their own computer or email it to somebody else. The teacher or advisor, if they have access to the reporting zone, would also be able to access an individual's report. And it looks a little bit like this, and it would have all the things on there from the career tools within that report. A new feature of the website as well is that if you have students who don't really know where to start, we have a Start Here function. And so this is for different age students to go onto Careerpilot and complete 5 things that will help them start their career tools. And they can go in at an age-related starting point. So this, for instance, is what the post-16 Start Here ideas looks like. So they're prompted to register, and then they're prompted to work their way through the various sections of interest to that age group. So the one thing that we need to remember is if as a teacher or advisor you're logging on and you want to use the site and practice using the site, we ask you to set up a dummy user. This is simply because if you're in the future going to be using the reporting zone and you've already used your email address as registering as a student, then that means you won't be able to use that same email address as a teacher or advisor. So if after seeing this video you want to go in and have a look, then we say if you can set up a dummy email account such as something yourname@nomail.com, just make up any old password and choose which year group you want to look at. It has to be post-16 if you want to see the HE skills map. And if you can put yourself into the training school, then this just means that you won't appear as yourself within the school's report system. So as I said, this is just if you are thinking that you will need your email address in the future to use the reporting zone section, then it's really important that you don't use the same email address when you first log on to Careerpilot. So Advisor Zone and Parent Zone are also accessible from the home page. So the advisor zone again has had a refresh. We've looked at the resources. We're aiming to add to this teacher resources to use with students. So again, they're split up into the age-related divisions, and there are worksheets there. There are presentations to use with the students to introduce Careerpilot to students. There are presentations to use for parents and teachers within the school, and there's newsletter items or emails that can be sent out. As well as that, in the advisor zone, there's ability to access the free promotional materials. So you may have seen these in the past. We've got posters, stickers and cards for older students and parents leaflets. So if you do want a pack of those for your school, you can order those through the advisor zone. Similarly, we offer free training for teachers and advisors in schools and colleges, and so there's an option in the advisor zone to request this free training. All schools will be asked to try and access the reporting zone from Careerpilot, and to do this you can do this through the advisor zone, where your school requests access, and then from that the school has to sign a data sharing agreement to allow the sharing of student data. So there is a process in place, but it all starts on the advisor zone by the school or college requesting access from there. If you're an NCOP school, so if you're a school that is part of the NCOP project, that could be done via the NCOP, and they will be able to advise you further. So the parent zone again was set up in September 2015. The images have changed, but a lot of the content has stayed the same. So this is where parents can go in and have a look at questions that their students might be asking, or they might want to know about at that particular age. So the reporting zone looks like this. So a person at the back end who's been given access to the reporting zone is able to look at the data, what the students are choosing within their career tools. So a teacher or advisor could look at a school group. So it could be a tutor group or a year group, and they can also search by an individual. So if they had a one-to-one session, for instance, with a student, this is where they will be able to pull up the student's information, if perhaps they've been on Careerpilot in a previous session, and be able to talk about the information that's held within the reporting zone. So if they're looking at a particular year group, so for instance, this is the training school, the demo school. This school has 3 year groups and a pupil premium group, and so the teacher or advisor could look at different reports for students within that particular group. And you can set up your own groups depending on what type of group you have. So you choose the report that you want to look at, and so it could be that they've chosen to look at the job sectors that that particular group is interested in. And if you remember, the orange and the green ticks just mean something slightly different, and you can see all the students within that group and the job sectors that they're interested in. So therefore, meaning that you could get somebody in for a particular job sector to come and talk to students about that job sector. So again, you could also look at the qualifications that students are interested in studying, and you could also look at the providers that the students have chosen. So for instance, if you had a number of students who were interested in a particular university, trying to make contact with that university for them to come in and talk to students, or equally to visit the university in question. So once the student has finished all the career tools, there is also now a facility for teachers or advisors to add their own comments. So if you had a one-to-one meeting with the student, that you could put your own comments as to what was spoken about, what next steps need to be taken, and so on and so forth. So that's a new feature that allows teachers or advisors to record the conversations they've had with young people. So this is a report by user. So this is an individual report. So just like the career tools report that the student can print off, this is a report that the teacher or advisor can look at in the reporting zone. So this person is looking at an individual's job sector choices. So again, this will be helpful for one-to-one interviews. So they could also look at their qualification choices, the providers that they've looked at, and so on. So it's really important that if you are going to be using this as a user, that you don't use your school email address just yet to log on and register, because you may well need that for access to the reporting zone at a later date. So if you make up a fake email address using the @nomail.com email and put yourself into training school, that means that things will be easier when it comes to the future use of reporting zones. And if you're using this with students, it's really important that they register and they put themselves into the right school or tutor group, remembering to add their postcode and remembering to remember their password. So following this, if you do want to access the free promotional materials, or you do want to start the process for accessing the reporting zone, all of that information can be found within the advisor zone on Careerpilot. And if you do have any questions, then feel free to get in touch with us at Careerpilot.